announce the class schedule in a minute. 2/3 of the respondents said that you really like the streamed classes, but supplemented by recordings that you can go back to. So I think that the YouTube, which Raj had recommended instead of Zoom, is probably the right decision. And even though it limits our satsang question answers, but I think overall this is probably the right thing to do. So anyway, so those were the survey classes. Next is, I want to tell you a little bit about the retreat that we attended at the Sailorsburg, okay, recently. So it was really a great experience. I also did not know that it would be so successful in the sense of people enjoying it. My ability to teach 5 classes a day, that was also something new to me. You know, I told my wife Pammi 6 weeks before leaving that I'm not accepting any social events, and I studied for like 10 hours a day because I had to prepare for 21 classes ahead of time, and I was really ready to go. So all that preparation paid off. It was a great experience. Let me tell you the people who went, so you know that. So I know Durga and Singha could not make it at the very last minute, and also Shruti Harve, who's not here. There's about 4 or 5 people that couldn't make it, but the ones that went were Amit, Chandra, Anjali, Poonam Yadav, Satish Jalota, Raj Velpuri, who could not make it today because his mother-in-law is having a surgery, I believe, Ashish Mudgil, Jyoti Sulochana, Prakash and Surekha Nair, Vivian Curry from Southern California, Surjit Dixit from Vancouver, a very ardent student, and I really met him for the first time. Then when we were there, we teamed up with some local friends of our students, both Anjali's friends and Sulochana's friends, and 2 or 3 other couples that came in from Washington, D.C. and Boston, and some local people that were sort of trying it out, but they really liked it. So altogether we had about 22 people. Small group. I think the ashram is a place which is so heavenly. It has improved over the years. They've got new buildings, new roads, excellent areas to walk. You kindly talk to any one of the people here and they will tell you that, so here is what our plan is. Okay, I should also tell you, Dwaj Swami Viditatmananda called me and said, you are in for every year from now on. So that was kind of nice. He got some good feedback from other people also. And so that was good. It was just a very great experience. It ended up, and I'll just mention that as part of the rest of the thing, that I could only complete half of the Sri Rudram that I was planning to do. Okay, so we still are on the dock for the completing the whole Sri Rudram. We'll keep that aside in a minute. Next year, our plans are, we have a date, May 13th to the May 20th. Okay, and I would very much like to see many of you. Many of you had said this time that, you know, my family is coming and my son is there, this, that, or the other. Tell your family that this is done. They should want to come some other time, that's a different one. I found out from Shuddhatma Ji that the weather is still pretty very good. It's not that cold in May. It's pretty pleasant. So let's just make it. And I will announce to you the text that I will be following later on, some other time. Okay, so that's all about the Sailorsburg retreat. Now let's come to the main part of today, which is our plans for the classes for going forward in the next couple of years. So here's what I'm thinking. There are 3 texts that are uppermost in my mind right now. I think those are ideas that I would like to communicate to you that are impressive to me, because as you know, my teaching is very consistent with my own life. Whatever really appeals to me, I also think should appeal to you, because we are all the same people. There's no difference between us. And so it's not as though I'm going to tell them something else and I'll do something else. That's not like that. So there are 3 texts that are influencing my thoughts. Those are as follows. Last 5 chapters of Panchadashi, called Brahmananda. 5 different aspects of Brahmananda. And I think in my classes I've already told you that in the last couple of years, that I want to do that. I want to do that. That's number 1. The second one is something new in the last 2 years, which I didn't have the experience before. Learning the Bhagavad Gita through the eyes of Swami Shankarananda. Opened my eyes. It so happens that unbeknownst to me, Swami Viditatmananda has been teaching Shankarananda's commentary in Gujarati for the last 5 years. So I decided, and the reason that I want to do that is because it's a little tricky. I'll have to see how to do it. I want to spend some time going over the Sanskritam, the sentences as it is before translating them. So people, like I already mentioned, they would enjoy, and in fact you should get very used to it. I know Srida used to come to my house and we will go over the Shankara Bhashya, and it's a way for you to really slowly put together the individual words in sentences that make sense. Okay? I'll make some comments about the importance of Sanskrit later on. Okay? But for now, the second book that I want to focus in on is, and how long it would take, I don't know. I may have to do sort of like not going from chapter 1 to 18. That'll take, I don't know if I'll be alive for doing all of that. So probably I may select some passages and do it selectively. So that has to be seen. I have to look at that. But that's the second book. The third book is I want to finish Sri Rudram. Okay? So here is the plan. Tuesday night, online only, will be Panchadashi, last 5 chapters. Same time, 8 to 9:30, or 9:15, 9:20. And so Tuesday night will be that. I'm very happy to announce that at least tentatively we will rejoin an online class on Saturday morning. On Saturday there will be only 1 class, not 2. It will be from 8 to 10. I'll tell you about where in a minute. It will be from 8 to 10. The advantage of doing this 8 to 10 are as follows. A 2-hour class instead of an hour and a half class. Number 1, I would like to do meditation at least half the time, if not more. Okay, your feedback on meditation has been very, very positive, and I would like to make it more of a feature. So at 50% of the time, we would start with meditation. Then switch over to the text. Okay? The third advantage would be that you don't have to rush out after the text is over, and we have more time to discuss as a satsang. Remember, in the last one, the second class was starting, and so we didn't really have much time. This way we can linger on. And so the class itself will still be only about an hour and a quarter, but will be preceded by meditation and a significant amount of time left for discussion. Okay? And then we'll be done by 10 o'clock, if we can even go more than that. Here's what we have discovered. There is a place which looks very promising. I've already visited it, and we are going to start this Saturday morning class a week from today at 8 o'clock, very close to the Milpitas class that we were holding last time. In fact, I don't know if you remember this or not, next to the main building, there is a smaller building on the right-hand side. So if you're looking into the building, it's on the right-hand side, single story. Okay, that's also owned by J.P. Vijendra. So what's happened is, when I started doing some inquiries, there is an organization called Seva International that has already rented that place from J.P. Vijendra. It has a very large room. I think only about maybe 80% of the size of this room. It's that big, okay? We have tentatively sublet it for 2 hours every Saturday from 8 to 10, okay? Very nicely decorated, and, we have enough place and so on. There is one problem, which I'm not sure how it's going to be solved. Right next to the room, there is a kitchen that is going to be starting. They have sublet it out to the kitchen people. It's very possible that the interference from the kitchen will be unacceptable to us, in which case we'll have to find something else. The resolution to that is that they are looking at actually a partition between them. It might take them a while to do so, or that the restaurant doesn't start before 10 o'clock. So they are very anxious to have us as a tenant. I'm working with Kailash Joshi, who's also involved with it. Vijay Agarwal is very much as part of that whole discussion. And so we are hoping that this thing becomes a viable entity. So for the time being, we are experimenting in holding the first class next Saturday at 8 a.m. I think Raj will probably take a little bit of time to set it up. By 8:15 or so, we should be ready to go. So you kindly come at 8 o'clock, and you can even help move some of the furniture and so on and so forth. And so some unknowns, but it looks very promising, and I think this is what we will have. Yes, Shrida?
Are you going to send the address to everyone?
Yes, it's the address to everyone is the same, is the one, which is 691 South Milpitas Boulevard, and it's right next to it. It's the same one. It's the same address. But I'll send everybody a.
Yeah, it would be nice to send the.
No, I will do that.
Starting time and
Yeah.
date and everything.
Vijay?
There's a page to banner there, Seva International.
Seva International is the big banner.
And the kitchen, Guruji has mentioned, it is not for public. It is only for cooking. So we hope we'll have a resolution.
Okay, yeah. So it's a private kitchen of Seva International, and they're anxious to accommodate us. So hopefully something will work out.
What happens to the library there we have? Library.
So that's too small a library.
Now, what happened to those books? Is the library open?
We have the books. Raj has taken the books.
Oh.
I
We have enough storage.
So we can look at that for the time being.
Yeah, it will take a while for us to sort it out.
Okay? All right, so that is the two texts we've already talked about. Right? Panchadashi on Tuesday night, Bhagavad Gita on Saturday morning. The third text is Sri Rudram. Here is what I've decided to do. I'm going to do classes, well, two things. First of all, those that could not go to the retreat, those 20 classes, and I think including meditation, there might be even more, are going to be loaded up for you to start with. So at your own leisure, you can start with Sri Rudram as was taught in the retreat. Okay? You can start with that. In the next few weeks, maybe another month or so, I'm going to start teaching the rest of the Sri Rudram by myself using YouTube whenever I get time to do so. And it doesn't have to be a fixed time per se. I will let you know how best to do it. I'll consult with you to see how best to communicate to people. But my goal is that, because I have an obligation for the rest of the people who are not local to finish that, so I have to promise them. I'll tell you why I'm saying that, because at the end of the retreat, I had a long discussion with Swami Viditatmananda about the previous retreat, about next retreat, and so on. He told me an idea which I am really warming up to, and I think I'm going to adopt it. When you suggest something like a senior guru, you have to take him very seriously. He says, why don't you teach Aparoksha Anubhuti for next year?
Yes.
And there are several reasons for it. One is, which is I think what I wanted to do on my thoughts to AVC 2.0, I will reiterate those thoughts later on. One is that the texts with Aparoksha is something we have to go towards more and more. Okay? Why don't I just defer my comments to that? Second thing is that Swami Viditatmananda is actually writing a book on Aparoksha Anubhuti, which will take about 6 more months to be published. He's going through all of the transcription, editing, etc. So it's very possible that by the time we begin our retreat next year, that book also will be available as a backdrop. I think for many of you, I find that having a current book like Drigdishya Viveka, Kaivalya is very useful to you to go back. I think we can do the same thing. So I'm not going to teach Sri Rudram at the next retreat. I'll do that separately. But I will teach Aparoksha Anubhuti. At this point, this is my plan. Whatever Ishvara wants me to do, we'll see. Okay? So this is the class plan. Now, we have asked Swami Viditatmananda, going to agenda item number 6, to please come here, if not for a full week of classes. This full week of classes, I think, is not going to work with all the traffic and so on and so forth. So if you can come in for either a residential retreat, like Zarina and I have been discussing, or at least a non-residential retreat, where you have full days classes, for 2 or 3 days. So he has agreed to do so. Okay? Tentatively, we are looking at June 23rd to June 25th of next year for Swamiji to come. He hasn't said a definite yes, but he actually suggested those dates to me. So he's at least open to it. So at least we now have a contact with this wonderful Swami, which we have lost in the last few years because of Guru. So that's the point I wanted to make. Okay? Now I want to just share some, sorry, Chola?
Just are we going to entertain any other Swamijis to come in Bay Area?
The question is, are we going to entertain any other Swamis to come to the Bay Area? My own personal feeling is no. Okay? The reason is, why don't we hold off on that until we finish my thoughts on AVC 2.0. So we will revisit that, okay? But to be quite honest with you, my tendency is no. So let's just talk about that in general. So, so we've been teaching Vedanta for the last 20 years with a certain methodology, keeping all the major texts in mind. We've done that. We've invited Swami Viditatmananda ji, Swami Tattvavidananda ji, Swami Paramatmananda ji to come here and so on. And my life also was to give you an introduction to Vedanta as Shravanam. Shravanam takes like 10, 20 years. It's not just one or two classes. You have to be imbibing it from various sources. And I was motivated in my life not only to teach, but also to have a center where we will invite all these people to come and so on. I don't want to tell you my exact age, but I am getting old. Okay? So I want to look at the AVC 2.0 in a different way. Okay? And that is, I don't have the energy to invite talks by others or even have the passion to listen to them anymore. I'm done. I know everything that I need to do, and I'm very engaged in doing so, and I'm happy doing so. So as far as the AVC 2.0 is concerned, there are 3 or 4 things that are paramount in my mind. One is that whatever texts I teach are going to be focused on aparoksha rather than paroksha. Mananam rather than Shravanam. That part is done. We have completed all the texts. We went through Mandukya Karika, which is the apex of it. We went through Brahma Sutra. So the Shravanam is done. Now the question is the commentary on it as it affects our life, directly onto it. Because that's what my life is all about. I'm not doing Shravanam anymore. And I cannot have enough time to do Shravanam for you anymore. The new people, as I'll explain in a minute, we have enough material to go through. So my focus is going to be much more simple as far as personally my own concern is concerned, personal life is concerned. This is number 1. Aparoksha number 2. Number 3, I am motivated to help you grow as teachers yourself. And I will go through a number of points. It is important for you to take on the responsibility of teaching others. I tell you why. Not because the society needs it, you need it. Many of us fool ourselves that we have reached a certain point and we cannot understand that this is a sense of over-complacency until we start teaching somebody else. And they attend 2 classes and they say, okay, I'm too busy. That means they didn't get it. They have no value in what you were teaching. And you know what that means? That means you have to evaluate your own learning. If I cannot communicate to somebody else, I don't deserve the depth of the knowledge of myself. So I would very much like to, in fact, all the steps that I'm talking about here are for you to now take the steps forward in teaching in small ways but slowly growing. I know Surendra has been doing this for a while, and I think that we want to really toast. Others might be doing it too. I'm much more aware of what Surendra is doing, and there's nothing like doing that. Number one. Number two, I think a number of you would like to have already made comments about the study groups. Very useful. Very useful. So I'm interested in ABC 2.0 in increasing, well, in fact, 3 or 4 things. Okay, let me just say that. Let's start with number 8. You know, at the back of these sheets is a suggested study that was done by Swami Paramarthananda. Okay? So you can really start on this on your own. Another possibility is that you make a small group of people that study these things together. And I think Chawla and Zarina and Panna and all of the other people, they have great experiences. They can lead us with it, where they actually listen to Swami Paramarthananda and then discuss it. So having the absorption through study groups, and absorption through a systematic structure of Vedantic study, and then finding 1 or 2 close associates or friends that you can teach, is the way I suggest you all grow. Do not be permanent students. Life is passing, and you have to really transform over to teaching. Okay? So this is what I am thinking in terms of the structure of the AVC2. So Chala, now I can answer your question more directly, having given you this background. I don't have the energy anymore to have Swamis come here and so on. If one of you wants to take on the responsibility, I'm okay with it. But I won't even attend the classes other than maybe a dinner or something like with them, because I have a different lifestyle now.
Yeah.
Okay? What do you think?
So what I was thinking is, what we benefited is having those acharyas, even short retreat, one retreat for 1 week or something. And when they visit, it's a different flavor. The parampara and how Swamiji teaches, I think it has a different flavor. And for me, I'm not going to benefit as much because we are following several Swamijis and lectures and attend the retreats. But for new people, have a structured 1 week dedicated to that, gave us a lot of push in our own progress. So that's what I was saying.
So I think that holding evening classes for 1 week is much more difficult now because of traffic and COVID and so on. It is not easy to do.
Yeah.
Okay, this is why also the alternatives are good. Now we have a lot of online classes from doing so.
Yes.
Okay? As far as you are concerned, I'm just going to start the in-person classes and see if you benefit from it. So I think you should be adequately served. As far as the new students are concerned, I don't know. I don't know what will happen. If someone comes in and is able to do so. I don't envision Arsha Vidya Center to be a conglomeration of different Swamis. That phase is done for me in my life. Okay? So this is the way I understand it. But I'm willing to listen to your feedback and so on. Any other points or...
So the Saturday morning class in Milpitas, would that also be online?
Yes, the Saturday morning class will also be online. Yes, absolutely.
So if we want to, we can also listen to that class
Yes,
online?
absolutely. Right, Raj? Yeah, there's no reason why we will change that. So at the very most, we may have to buy another camera so that we don't have to keep it bringing it back and forth.
We have two cameras already, you have a second one.
Yeah, we had the old one and then this one.
Where's the old one?
You have it.
I haven't? Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, so yeah, to answer your question,
So that will be on YouTube then? Just like they're doing now? Okay.
so just 1 minute. So I'm thinking we will start the classes in person to see how many of you find it useful. If, for example, after the first week, 5 people show up, I'm going to cancel it. That's not enough for me. In my way, unless there is 15 or 20 of you sitting in the class, I might as well just do it from home. So some of that is really just trial and error. A number of you have said that you enjoyed the in-person classes, and also I think an increased level of question answers that will appeal for me. If that happens, I mean, the first time I drove to Milpitas after 3 years, it was a shock to me. I don't drive anymore, but I'm willing to come here and do so. So yes, to answer your question, it will be both.
No, the only reason is, COVID is surging so much right now.
Yes.
It'll start from next week.
Absolutely.
I'm not so sure, I don't know how many people would.
I think the next week is just a trial. We would still have masks on and we will assess it week to week. I don't have to sign a contract with Seva International. We can back out of it. Next week is a pure trial. But let's just see how that goes. Yeah. Darshana, you want to?
Yeah, my question is regarding the forming of the new groups and stuff. How do we go about it?
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I was going to come to that. So, in fact, I made some. So, Darshana's question is, how do we form new groups?
And deciding on the topic.
Good point. Absolutely. Okay. So, one is there are several groups that are already active. So the question will be, are you willing to admit any new people in that group? My general answer would be no, because you're already doing that, okay? So what we need to do is to form some new groups that have some specialty about them, okay? Eric Anderson is not here. He lives in Napa somewhere. He was supposed to be here. I talked to him personally. One group that might be useful is to just have a group of Western students. No Indian students. Because some of the background and culture and so on can be more specifically discussed, especially if you have a background of Christianity and so on. So Eric is amenable to it, and if others can want to do that, that can be one group. Okay? Another group can be the studying of the suggested structure of Swami Paramarthananda. So for instance, you can take Tattva Bodha as the first book and form a group of 4 or 5 people that watch it on Zoom together. Raj, you think that would be a good idea, just to have a Zoom-oriented study group? How would you?
It's a PDF, right? So I think that has been discussed within the group, right? I know you have
No,
one.
the thing is, he is asking about group having Zoom, and we do on Zoom, and it's very successful for us. And so, like if somebody is 4 or 5 people, we can guide them. That's not a point. And also the lectures, the Tattva you are mentioning, ABC site still has that lectures. So they can start listening to that and start with the Tattva.
So in the Zoom, you
ABC.
listen to a lecture, is that right? So you,
You listen beforehand. You don't
Beforehand.
listen in the.
oh, you listen beforehand?
Yeah.
And then
We have our own assigned slokas.
Okay,
whatever.
all right. So let's do this.
Well, there are two ways of doing it. Our satsang group, we listen together.
You listen on the Zoom itself.
On the Zoom itself, we listen together. That's one way to do it. They had a different way. Whatever works in their own group. So there are alternative ways to do it.
Okay.
It's just, you know.
So,
they have to decide.
One possibility, Darshana, as to answer your question is, how do we form the groups? We need to get some groups started, and one of them will be a beginning introduction to Tattva Bodha. One could be a more advanced one that you have already done. Maybe take an Upanishad. Let's see what are some of the other suggestions that you have made. Sorry. So the one possibility is that you take the essence of Upanishad, which has 30 classes by Swami Paramarthananda, and you discuss that. And the two methods given here were, you study each lecture ahead of time, and then during the Zoom session, you discuss it. The other possibility that Raj was saying is that in the Zoom itself, you listen to this one. So that could be another group that you could start. Okay, so that's another one. If you want to start a group on Gita home study, okay, this is what Anjali Deshmukh had mentioned, and she was quite active in doing so. We have excellent material by Swami Dayanandji, and we can actually form a group. We can actually announce it to the general public, and they can participate in doing that. So that is another possibility. We'll have to see what groups make sense from both of you. Okay. Time is at 12:15. All right, number 10, which I've already mentioned to you before, that please take some baby steps for teaching. I think Surendra's example is a good one. Surendra, maybe you can just give small, some ideas to people and how to start it and what did you do and so on. Is this active?
Turn it on.
Yes, it goes on.
No, it was on.
So I've started 2 groups, and the first one was not my initiative, they ran need basis. So one of my wife's nephew and his wife, they went through a tragic thing where she went through cancer and she was recovering 2 years process, and she was in a very critical condition. And so their group of friends, they wanted to know how do they approach problem in life. And they said, okay, we want to learn what Gita's message is. So the group's name we called Gita Learning, not Gita. What is the message of Gita? So in this group I didn't start. So my wife's nephew, he works for Cisco. So he formed a group, and all his friends, he approached me, said, can you please help us out here? I said, okay. This is the first time somebody is approaching me And so I didn't know how to teach, only learned from Vijayji. So Vijayji's guidance was big help, you know. So I didn't say no, I said, okay, go ahead. As long as you're organizing it, I'll start it. And so this I selected verses of Gita, and right now I'm doing the Sthit Pragya, and it takes over a year and a half, and we have only covered 6-7 verses right now. So most of my time spent in question answers and seeing the practical aspect of Gita. So this is one group. Second group, my eldest sister in India, she would call me every now and then and talk about different things. I said, I'm not interested in those. I don't know what happened to different people, you know. So, and she was interested in spirituality because we both have the same background from my father, who was a big proponent of Bhagavad Gita. So I said, okay, let's start talking more sensible things. So I started talking. So first thing we started is Prathas Maramai. And I'd given her the sheet, and she had so many questions on that, and I said, okay, let's start with this. So I went on from Vijayji's, whatever he taught us, I started teaching her one-on-one. Then my wife's sister, who lives in Cleveland, she also said, I got bored, I don't have people to talk to. So I started teaching her, talking to her. I said, again, I want to do sensible things. So I started talking to her one-on-one. Then my wife came up with the idea, I said, you're talking to two different people, different days, spending so much time, why don't you combine them? And so my sister was not in India. She's 7 years older than me. She did not have knowledge for, she's not a high-tech person, she didn't have a cell phone. Only thing she can do is FaceTime. So then somehow I managed to start Google thing, and then went on Zoom. And so combined that was a challenge, finding common time, and so finally I did that. And then I opened up and more people, a lot of them from India, a lot of them were way elder to me, they started joining, and some younger crowd also. So I pulled some people in Gita class to this, of common, and so started another group of 7-8 people. So for this one I chose morning time where there's nothing that interferes, you know. So time is important, so I started at 8 o'clock in the morning, good time for India also. And so this group is, I'm taught, and Vijayji's, whatever he's taught me, I selected topics, you know. So some topics on Tattva Bodha. So right now I'm doing Update. So I chose a topic of Prarat Karma, and so 3 karmas, and Kami Karma, Nishit Karma. So went through all that, and then I chose 3 verses from Uddeshar, first 3 verses. And now I'm going to do Ankush Jnanam that Vijayji was doing one verse 132, which is very relevant. So I'm combining all four different topics, and so just selected topics and moving on. And so I spend again more time on discussions where more learning happens. And then people ask questions, that's where learning happens. Sometimes people want practical aspect, and what I'm telling them is practical aspect. My elder brother is there who will ask, 2 people ask me very relevant questions. And so even when I'm talking practical thing, they're still saying, what is the practical aspect of that? So that means I haven't conveyed in a proper way so that I could go back again. So it's a big learning experience for me also.
Wonderful.
So I've got 2 groups.
Very good.
Very good. Chawla?
I have one suggestion is, lately we have started, Paramahansa has his own study group. And if we kind of link to everybody, they can join the group. And just in the morning of a topic, he chooses from Vivek Chudamani is going right now. Every single morning for 5 minutes, he has, and if you join the group, older lectures are there too. 5 minutes of Gita, he finished. 5 minutes of what was that? No, before that it was something else, but anyway. And the third one was Vivek Chudamani, right now going. And it's 5 minutes of that in the morning when you open your email, and it's right there, and you just listen to those 5 minutes, it's just worth the whole day. So that's the start that it gives you the inclination of study and your inquiry and more question comes and you ask somebody and that's how he starts getting together and says, okay, I like this person's idea and then form a group and, go to further study.
Yeah, I would say that all of you know a lot already. You'll be surprised how much even the introduction to this Vidya equips you in providing some very basic answers to it. And so you don't have to feel that, I'm not very good yet, I've got to study more. Just start somewhere, okay? And I think as Surendra was saying, if there are some specific texts like this Jnana Ankusham that we did on Tuesday night, you can just take some portions of that and just talk from there. So it doesn't have to be a whole, Taittiriya Upanishad or anything like that. You can take individual passages and talk from there. But start. I think the main important thing is to find someone who really trusts you as a person and then give them the leadership that is provided by Vedanta. So that's what I would say is the teaching, number 10. All right, number 11. This topic came up during our retreat, and some of you were discussing that. Let me just say one thing before I talk about it. The year was 1978. I had an in-depth personal meeting with Swami Dayanandji, who was staying in a hotel in San Francisco. And I made a 1-hour appointment to discuss things. And I asked him the following question. I said, Swamiji, if I had some discretionary time, apart from my work and from my family, so let's take 10 hours a week of discretionary time. How much time should I spend in learning Sanskrit versus in learning Vedanta? And what I expected was a complete shock to me. He says, you know what, you've been studying with me for 2 or 3 years. I know you as a person. I know where you should go. Spend most of the time in learning Sanskrit. This is not what I wanted to hear. I was really deeply disappointed. But I have to abide by the advice of this Guru. I have the same advice to you. Please assess, are you really serious? Are you a mumukshu? If you are, spend time to learn this sacred language. It is invaluable. It's not just sentences. It is the meaning of the words, the prefixes, the suffixes, the derivation, and the ideas that it conveys. It's incomparable. There's nothing compared to that. If you think you're serious but not that serious, you are okay with how things are going, then don't do it. Because it is not going to be easy. Not going to be easy. But if you are serious, then please do it. Now I'm sorry that Raj Velpuri is not here today. We had a long session in the cafeteria in Sailorsburg where he educated me on some things. The technology of learning a new language is totally different now than it used to be. In our days, you just take Antoine 1 and 2, just go through every one of them. Things are very different. All the aids that you get. So I would like to do the following. I would like to have Raj lead a tutorial on what to do when you are interested in learning Sanskrit. And we will communicate that to you. Okay? It may have 2 or 3 levels, I don't know, but I think that requires a certain amount of knowledge of what the tools are available today and so on. Manju?
Yeah, actually, we have a very good portal, Sanskrit from home. They have an excellent, I can suggest, in high school grammar, and there's Anuvada. It takes you from basic to the advanced. It's done excellently well, and for every chapter, they start with Sandhi, you go all the way for all the things that you need to learn from Sanskrit. They have homework assignments with answers and tests. So it's an amazing portal. Of course, they have many other things done from Chennai and many courses. But for the starters, I would definitely say you can do it at your own pace. Everything is available, very well organized.
Okay, good.
And there's another one called Anuvada translation. So it's really.
So I want you to be in touch with Raj, and I'll make sure that happens. And let's consolidate all the ways of looking at it and let people make the decisions on who doing that. Yes, Surendra?
You know, the committee has published a book in Sanskrit to the classes that we took with her.
Yeah.
That's an excellent book. I just picked it up just 2 days back. It's an excellent book, so somebody can do a self-study. It'll be very helpful.
Okay, so I think...
Vibhakti, everything is there in that book. She's done a good job. Kumuji is not here.
No, Kumuji is not here.
Where
So,
did you get that book? Kumuji just...
The book is available on Amazon.
Oh, I see.
Oh, no, no,
Books are now, 3 books which she's made. There are 2 Sanskrit books.
Two
Excellent
Sanskrit
books.
books. One is grammar and one is stories.
I think it's already on our website also. There's a link for it. But,
anyway, we'll have a focus on it. So you're not alone. You have choices, you can look at it. But it is extremely important. I think I highly recommend to do so. Okay.
As part of Roger's collection, I'll just throw out there that I'll volunteer to teach some Sanskrit if, as part of this, we find out that people want to learn something with a teacher. You can collect names of who's interested and what level they are and see if somebody that could teach a class with them. So I'll just go see in Raj and if anybody wants to learn with a teacher.
So, well, first of all, wait a second. I want everybody to look at Lisa Curran. She's a very important person. You know why?
She wasn't here earlier.
Lisa, come here. She
Lisa,
was
come
late.
here.
I'll tell you why she is important. She was my first student of AVC 1.0 in the year 2002 or 3, I forget. She is the one who started, other than what Sulekha was saying, that I used to teach it at home, but when we started teaching publicly, she was my first student. This is how important she is.
Well, it works exactly how it should happen. I did the Gita home study myself, and when I finished, I said, well, what do I do now? And somebody knew of VJG in the Bay Area, said, ask him to teach. Like, ask him to teach, I'm just getting over some things, I don't know, but then he pulls it together, and he would have taught me individually, but he thought now is the time to start a little something else, so he did what he was going to do when a student asks for teaching. He taught, and here I am.
Wonderful. Anyway, tell a little bit about what you are talking about to everyone.
Well, as soon as I finished Antoine 1, my teacher told me teach it. So I was brand new to teaching, and some of you all might have been in the very first. They're all on YouTube. I wasn't the greatest teacher yet. I was just right after learning Antoine 1. But now I think after doing it for some number of years and teaching it several times, Antoine 1, we have a bit of a curriculum to start with derivations and conjugations and pronouns, and then moving on to Michika has great content. The goal is to be able to read Bhasham. So I have classes at various levels right now, the latest of which, I can't read Bhasham alone yet, that's what I'm still doing with my teacher. But we now we learn Gita from analyzing the words of a Gita verse and being able to put them in word order and then understand the verse. And then when the bhashan is short, we'll do the bhashan as well with the guidance of Samirananda or my teacher putting it together. So the goal is learning Sanskrit to be able to read bhashan, and you can really do it at whatever pace you have to have some kind of committed effort into it. So I have a student that started not even knowing Devanagari, and she's with me now, and everybody who started with me, we still have the classes ongoing that started in 2014, and there are some analyzing Gita verses now. So that's what we do.
Good.
So
just to add to her, we have been studying with Lisa actually for the last 3 years or so, and we've been going through the Veda Michika book. It's excellent. She's done a nice structured study, and we interactively working through all the different exercises. Thank you very much, Lisa, for guiding us through the Sanskrit classes. Meera and I have really thoroughly enjoyed it, and we're continuing to do that now.
That's a good question. Are you doing these classes online?
yes, on Zoom.
Okay. Wonderful.
Should I anybody interested in learning Sanskrit in a class?
Yes.
And then just a quick level, is there anybody who doesn't yet know Devanagari? Who wants to learn it? Okay, so we'll start there. We have a way to do it. And then, is there anybody who already knows declensions and conjugations and are ready to do something besides that? All right, and of that, are you ready to read, or are you still wanting to learn derivations? I can't.
Start from the scratch actually.
Does anybody hear what he said?
Start from scratch.
Start from scratch. Okay. Well then, we'll just work this out and.
Yeah, I think he was referring to Raj Velpuri, a different
Oh,
Raj, not me.
a different branch.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what I think we'll do is, I will get Raj Velpuri, Lisa Karan, and Manju Gupta together, and then you guys can suggest something, and I will send it out for people to sign up.
Okay.
So we'll get started with doing that. That would be a great one. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Have you been following any cultivation guidelines or anything?
I use Kalpesh's materials when I need them, but I have a different.
Okay, we're going to move along. I think we should be done by 1 o'clock, so that it's been pretty long. Next topic is children's classes. Okay, as you know, this is the strength of the Chinmaya mission, and this is the weakness of the Arsha Vidya Center. I don't have any time or the interest for teaching children, but there is a legitimate need for it. Okay. Fortunately, recently, as you know, we have had a online class teaching children through the Arsha Vidya Gurukulam, and this whole thing, I think Raj had already sent it out to you. So I think that there is a wonderful opportunity to enroll children from, I think it is 5 is the lowest one, 5 or 6 years old, all the way up to 15, 16. And all we need is someone who is interested and can coordinate the Bay Area participation of that section. So we now have a way to do it. And so I think one thing I would be looking for at the end of today is a series of volunteers for various things, like we just did for Sanskrit. Similarly, I think it'll be nice to get some people that are interested in managing. You don't have to do the children's classes yourself, but along with this online course, you can actually coordinate that. So I think that will be one of the features of the Arsha Vidya 2.0. Okay, number 13, growth through writing. As part of the growth process, which involves, number one, teaching, study groups. Another one is just writing things down in a form of a text or an article. I'll give you one recent example. Gajananam and Vikram both have accepted my suggestion in one of the classes to do Shadlinga Vichara for the various Upanishads and Bhagavad Gita. If you know, we took that topic on the Tuesday night, and I suggested to them that we have a very beautiful booklet that gives you examples of the various ways that the Vedantic texts, what is the main purpose of the Vedantic text? What is the central theme of it? And that has a methodology associated with it. It's not arbitrary and say, I think this is this, which it is in people's minds. If you ask 10 people on what the message of Bhagavad Gita is, you'll get 10 answers. There's only one answer. One main one, everything else is secondary. What is it? And how do you ascertain it? This can be a very useful book. I'm very happy that Gajananam and Vikram that have accepted this. I've already reviewed their first draft. And particularly if there are texts that have embedded Sanskrit in them, that's even better to improve your knowledge of Sanskrit. Okay? So what I would suggest to you is, as part of your growth and your maturation of this Vidya, you take up some writing. And if you're interested, just give me an email and I will look for some topic for you to do. So I think that's another thing that I would very much like to encourage you to do. Okay? Writing has to be very precise. I learned my lesson the hard way when I offered Swami Viditatmananda that I will do the Kaivalya Upanishad with him. Oh my God, I had no idea what I was getting myself up to it. I think for 2 years, this was a big undertaking. And he read me through the coals. Every time I'll send something saying, I think this is good, he'll say, nope, let's redo it all over again. We must have gone through many, many times before. And he learned it from Swami Dayanandji. I don't know if you remember a book called, what's it called? The Essential Bhagavad Gita.
Yes.
The Essence of,
Yes.
Essence of Bhagavad Gita. So that was done by Swami Viditatmananda.
Yes.
And Swamiji was saying, I did the same thing. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. But it is very useful when you're done with it. Ideas stick to you when you write something down. So that's another thing that you should do. Number 14. Consistent with this view of ABC 2.0, I would like to have the website reflect it, the diversity of it, study groups, Sanskrit, children's classes. There's a lot of work involved in making the website representative of what we are going to be doing. I don't know how much time Raj has. He's just been working he just does everything. But I would very much like to have one of you raise your hand and say, I am willing to improve the website to a point where all these things are not only created but also well maintained so that it's kept current and so on. Any thoughts on that, Raj?
Welcome. If anybody's WordPress, anybody who knows WordPress and interested, please connect with me and absolutely I would love to help.
Who's that? Poonam, is it? Is it Poonam? Yes.
Okay. That would be great. Very good. Thank
Ashish.
you. Yeah. Absolutely.
I think let's make it into not just my classes. This is what I'm saying. All the other things that are going on. And by the way, that brings me to the last Vedantic step, number 15. How do we get connected to each other than just individual emails from me and you're sending it back to me? Is there a better way to keep ourselves connected to each other?
Create a WhatsApp group?
So if we create a WhatsApp group, should it be multiple ones or just a single overall one? Because WhatsApp groups can become very noisy with a lot of
Very
traffic.
noisy, and
Over lunch, you read water.
Ashish?
Communication is one part, but I think when we are also talking about creating separate WhatsApp groups.
Why don't you come?
So the thought that I have is that with a bunch of new initiatives, improving communication should also include a regular update on each of these initiatives. And like if we are saying forming study groups, then maybe once a quarter, along with other things, study groups can actually come and share what they have done over the last quarter. What have they learned? They can present in a 15-20 minute, a short thing, and everybody else who's not part of that study group learns from it in terms of methodology, in terms of what, and they can learn from it and implement in their respective study groups or whatever they are doing. I mean, just to get this whole chain going, that whatever initiatives are happening, the learnings from it are reached out to everybody else and people are able to learn from that and just keep the cycle going.
So it seems like it's a great idea if we have a 2-hour section on the Saturday morning, we can allocate once in a while half hour or so as an update on many of these points. We can certainly do that. But that is still really for people who are in the in-person class. Is there a way to enhance it either through WhatsApp or other communication on a regular basis?
Certainly.
So it looks like WhatsApp is a good, sorry, Raj?
Website is a place where people should go for news. You know, that should be there, at least whenever the information is coming from you or at least from central place, then at least that should go there. And then we have a link for a WhatsApp group. We already have a WhatsApp volunteer group, okay? So which we keep active whenever we have events taking place. So, but communication one way is broadcast should be through website because that is our central place for everything related to ABC. And then there's the feedback coming in. We could make it open to comments through the website also, but I think interacting things through WhatsApp might be a better way to do it. And it's easy to make one big group. We'll have separate groups of volunteers anyway. So this one.
Let me understand it.
You can also do like a Google group if you want.
Yeah, or some other group, yeah.
So the website
Yes, we should use
is a
website.
good idea, but here's the problem. Most people don't find it actively updated enough to visit it often. So they don't visit it because
That's why we need that.
if we can do that, then it becomes an attractive place for people to visit from time to time.
Yeah,
May I make a suggestion?
sure.
I recently actually helped California Association of Ayurvedic Medicine. We have created a WhatsApp.
Jaya, come here.
So what we can do is we can create a WhatsApp group where the admins will be the only ones who can
Yeah.
say what they have to say. So it's not going to be noisy by people saying, hey, where's that? So I have recently helped a team do that. So I suggest that WhatsApp is something, it's really handy. You don't have to go and check into a website and see where things are.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's exactly it. We have a couple of groups like that, the admin only.
Yeah.
Which is one kind of essentially one way.
Yes, only admins can
Yeah.
talk
Correct.
about
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
Great suggestion, good idea. Okay, let's have it. We'll, so two things come out, three things actually. Pardon me. One is that with the improvement of the website, we will make it an attractive place for people to visit from time to time, number one. Number two, let's have an administrative change-only WhatsApp group. If there are subgroups that we need to have, we can do that, but at least have a single group. And the third thing is what Ashish was talking about, which is from time to time, we have a report in person, if nothing else but to educate us, the people who are attending the online, on-site classes, and so we can do that. That's a great idea. Okay. All right, I think we are now done with the Vedantic aspect of it. In the last 5 to 7 minutes, let's move our attention to Aim for Seva. Aim for Seva, for those of you that are new, is an excellent social initiative suggested by Swami Dayanand Ji about 20 years ago. I was one of the first ones to participate in that. And what it is meant to do is to enable you to become more generous in money and your time as a part of your own growth. Okay? We have done a really good job of adopting it. So I would like to I won't have much time to devote to it. So let me just talk about two aspects of it. Last year, I had asked for volunteers to donate to a building in Roorkee. If you know that, I sent one out to you. Because of the various feedbacks, we have made a change to it. The feedback is one personal and one public. I had agreed to finance one half of the building, which is $200,000, and dedicate it to my parents. On the advice and counsel of my wife, I'm announcing that we will also do the second part of the building also for her parents. So we will finance all $190,000 of the boys' Chhatralay in Roorkee. Okay, in the next couple of years, that money, I've already spent a lot of money, and I think we'll continue to do so. So we wanted to create a legacy for AVC. In discussing this with Srini, we have come up with an idea. What we will do is to create a completely separate building in the complex, which will be dedicated to AVC only. What that exactly looks like, we are still discussing. Could be a training center, could be a staff center, but that will be dedicated to AVC. And so you can now donate. Whatever you have pledged will also go into it, and any new pledges that you're making will also go into it. Doesn't have to be done right away. It might take 2 or 3 years to do so, and the amount of money that you spend doesn't matter. Previously I had said a minimum of, I think, $1,000 or $2,000. This time, whatever you want, this will be a collective AVC legacy for Roorkee. So I'll announce this in more formal ways to you. So that's a change that I'm just announcing it to you today. So with that, I'd like to turn this over to Ram Mandalam. And Ram is going to discuss some aspects of the plan for Aim for Seva in the year 2022, and then at that point we are done. Ram?
Thanks, Vijay. So my name is Ram Mandalam. I'm one of the volunteers for Aim for Seva. Last year, we had a committee that was running the Aim for Seva program. So I think what Vijay talked about in for Seva, it's essentially transforming rural India one child at a time, nurturing, educating, and empowering the children. So every year we organize a donor appreciation event, which is the main fundraising event here, where we get some artists to come in and we all attend as part of donation collected. And VA has been extremely successful in doing that over so many years. And the people who organize that, who volunteer for them, are people in the room and a few others outside. But that's been consistently happening for so many years. But it's come to a point now where we have to infuse new energy into this and get some new volunteers and make the organization a sustainable organization with rotating leadership going forward, along the same lines as what we did was talk about ABC 2.0. So with that in mind, going forward, what we wanted to do was to organize an event before the annual donor appreciation event, which is on November 19th this year. We want to organize a get-together on September 18th of this year at the Milpitas Community Center, essentially with three objectives. One is to talk more about Aim for Seva, the activities, how it functions, and also the impact it has on the society. I don't know how many of you read the newsletters that get sent out or talk about it or talk to other people, but it's something which we all need to know. We don't get a chance to talk a lot about it during the donor appreciation event, so we thought we should spend time doing that. Second objective is to, through that message, hopefully encourage some new volunteers to come on board, hopefully younger generation, who can carry the mantle and move forward with this very, very noble task. We should all, people who haven't seen the website of Aim for Seva USA or Aim for Seva India, you should see that tremendous impact it has on society. So that's the second objective. And the third objective, given that we were all shut down for 2 years, not meeting people, it's to energize what, using a political term, get energizing the base, which is the Asha Vidya Center base and the Aim for Seva base. So we want to achieve all these three things through that meeting. It's going to be from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. on September 18th at the Milpitas Community Center. We will send you obviously emails before then informing of all the details. The agenda will be to talk more about Aim for Seva. We'll have a presentation. We'll also talk about the financing, budget, and transparency of the organization. It's a 4-star charity organization, and people need to realize, because when I was talking to someone else, they said, if you're going to do a charity organization, 40% goes for corporate maintenance. That's not Aim for Seva, and that's something we want to convey, we want people to know. So with all this in mind, we want to do this, and there'll be, at the end, there'll be round tables in the room, people will be sitting around the table. We will leave 15 minutes or more for round table discussion. At each table, we will have experienced Aim for Seva volunteer who can talk to other people on the table and tell them more about it and have a personal contact. And the objective is to start relating to people and get more people involved. So that's what we will do, and then obviously we'll have refreshments at the end. So that's the announcement I want to make, and that's the plan case for the rest of this year. And what now I'm going to do is sort of circulate a sign-up sheet, because we do need volunteers for the September 18th event. But more importantly, for people who are experienced with Aim for Seva, please sign up to be the lead at the roundtables at the meeting. And there's the last column in my spreadsheet. So now I'm going to ask my daughter to circulate a sign-up sheet here so that you can sign up your name. And actually, because we did talk about volunteers as well, if you have a volunteer for anything for Asha Vidya Center, please add your name to that and add that detail as well, and we'll communicate everything back to Vijay. Okay? Thank you very much. Thank you.
So just to, while the volunteer sheet is being circulated, just to make a point about what Ram was talking about. The event on September 18th will be very different from the donor appreciation event, because we'll have a chance to learn in depth what the program is all about. We don't get a chance to do that in the donor appreciation. We just have a dance or music performance and maybe a couple of minutes of doing that. So for those of you that may have some friends that would like to know what this is all about, we will keep it very short over meal, and we have a chance for you to expose the knowledge of what Aim for Seva is to your friends. So I'd very much like to do so. That's objective number one. Number two as he so rightly pointed out, we need to broaden our volunteer base, especially at the younger age. So I'm going to try to get my family's younger persons involved. And if you have daughters and sons and daughter-in-laws and son-in-laws, please do so. Please also invite them to it. I think it will be a fun evening, and we might inspire some people to get involved with this. So that's the objective of the September 18th event. We've been meeting as a group, and we thought this would be a very good event for us to do. So I'm very happy that initiative that Ram and Surendra and others are also doing. So very happy with that. Okay. So with that, let's say a small prayer, and then I will close the meeting off. Om Asato Ma Satgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om. So I'm very excuse me, I'm very appreciative of your good vibes from you in the last when you gave the introduction, that the study, our joint study of Vedanta has been helpful to you in your life. And what my desire is that we take it to the next level, not just as a possibility, which is the Paroksha Jnanam, but as a reality that affects each of our lives. And that's what I would like to do. And I'm very happy that we had such good response to this. And I'm really enthused that going forward, we can improve the focus on making our lives even more happy and more productive, and reaching towards the eventual goal that we all have. So my best wishes to all of you, and thank you for coming, and we'll keep in touch with you. Hari Om. Sorry, yes.
So everybody just go from corner up here and pick up your lunch boxes and accessories. People who are going back to work, only if they want to use this room and spread apart, that's fine. Most of us gonna take the food and go away. Okay?
So let me know when your son gets married.
Sure. Thank you so much. Bless you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I'm really happy to know you, to meet you in person. Thank you so much.
These two people are missing. So should I just find their address?
Please do. That would be good. Especially this one would require international. Huh?
I can just mail regular mail.
I don't know, but Canada regular you may have
International.
Canada का उसका पता नहीं क्या करना पड़ेगा.
I think it's okay. I'll find out from the post.
Thank you. You can do that.
Yeah, I don't have it. I can. Just put it here. And I thought I sent you a check for.
Yes.
Okay,
So
okay.
I was waiting to talk to everybody on that point.
Okay.
And so now we will launch it. So,
Okay, all right.
yeah,
I
that's
just wanted to
part of
make
that.
sure
Yes,
that,
yes,
that
I got
that
it.
Okay,
I never
all right.
responded.
All right, appreciate it. Thank
Hello,
you.
Vijayji. Namaste.
Oh, that's it.
Good seeing you after a long time.
Nice
It's been
to
so much,
see
so
you.
much time.
कैसे हैं?
ठीक है. Blessed. Ishwar has been great. I become a grandfather.
Oh, wonderful.
That's good news. Yeah. Life, a lot of COVID in the family, but okay now. I somehow have survived, so somehow it hasn't touched me.
Same thing with me, honestly.
That's
Same thing.
That's.
I have so many people in the family, but for me now it's
Let's keep it that way. Let's keep it that way. Yeah, but great session today, and
I know, it's so
very
wonderful.
inspiring. So wonderful. I'm glad you did the session.
excellent.
Good seeing you.
Ah. I hope you can come to the classes and you
What
can
had
talk
happened?
more.
What had happened was I was waiting for the Panditji to call me because my mother's annual Shraddha was whether it's today or yesterday. I wanted to know. Then he called me up and said that it falls on yesterday in local. So it worked out very well when he had sent the email. So I was waiting for his response. It came at the same time you sent me the email.
Got it. I knew that. I knew they had a real reason for this.
Thank you very much. My son is doing better.
Oh, good.
He's doing better now, and so we are happy with that. And I'm going back through your YouTube classes and listening over and over again because repetition is the one which brings clarity and understanding. But there are so many books you have taught us and so many books over the years that I read here a chapter, there a chapter. Now it's time to read more of those books again and again.
Very wonderful.
Thank you, sir.
Sesha, it's good to see you. So nice, wonderful.
Wonderful to see you again.
I know.
Yeah, I will come for the class, but maybe not next 2 weeks. I'm flying out of.
Okay.
But I have a friend whose wife went through cancer, and he said it helped him a lot to listen to Swami Paramartha Nanda from Chennai. So he wanted to donate a substantial amount to him. So he wanted to know how we can do it.
Swami Paramartha Nanda.
For Paramartha Nanda.
So I think that the Yoga Malika, if he goes to this site, the other side, this is from Yoga Malika.
Oh, okay.
Huh? You go to the site and they have donation.
Okay. I will give him this information because he said it will be a huge amount, so he wanted to make sure that it goes to that organization.
Okay. So my only doubt will be whether Yoga Malika is just a publication arm of Swamiji or not.
Okay.
In which case he has to clarify that doubt.
Okay.
I think it's the same thing.
Okay.
Okay? I'll tell you what, I think I have seen some emails about requiring donations. I will send it to you. Okay? Or you can just remind me in case I forget.
Yeah, thanks. I will send you email, some kind of an email that says, and probably I'll just include my friend so that he gets it. Yeah. Thanks, Vijay.
Namaste Vijayji.
It's so nice to see you on the
live. Yeah, I was watching on the YouTube time to time.
Good.
But I wanted to know, I started with 2 study group and then they collapsed. So who has the list of the study groups? Chawla has
we will have to redo it. I think it's just kind of falling apart.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of the things that we will do. As part of the action items from today's class, I will revive the study group.
Yeah, I'm the one who said, please don't stop it, but at least once a month we should get together. But now you have once a week, right?
Yes.
This is going to be in person, so yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. I really I mean, I learned a lot. I may not be regularly attending because of the commitments, but I have been studying on my own.
That's all that matters.
Thank you very much. I really feel blessed by your teaching, and you have done great for the committee.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
I have forgot to check, so I can send to AIM Seva your address.
Yeah, you can send it to him. Thank you.
How are you doing? Nice to
Good.
see everyone.
Wonderful. You did a great job in getting all things done.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, good.
The same time, do you want us to participate in it?
I think we'll have to see what the volunteers are. I think Raj has already sent something out, so we'll have to look at it.
Okay.
Let's see how it is.
Okay.
Not sure yet.
Okay. We have to register now because August 28th is the day that we are registering AIM for Seva Way Forward. But I grace.
Thank you very much.
Wonderful.
So, like Ramanand Prasad, you know, he was a co-student So he made up one Gita Chalisa, 40 shlokas from one of Bhagavad Gita. So he made it like this: Sanskrit, transliteration, meaning in Hindi and meaning in Hindi. So I have recited this shloka with the grace of Sottam Krishna. I recite all these 40 shloka by heart. Not only me, I am blessed, my wife also recites, and my elder son here, Krishna, he also recites by heart, like any shloka. Vasansi Jinani Yathavai Mani Dhanati Naro Gnani Tatashtrani Jai Jinani Sanyati Mani Sukdukhe Sankara Bhava Bhojya. It will take too much time. So, the point was, when I was listening to last lecture from different Swamis, I came up. Whatever little I understood that time, writing book was something hard to me. So I wanted to make it a presentation. So I took the help of my son-in-law, he works for Google, and he helped me make a presentation on PowerPoint. So with his help, God's grace, I made a presentation about 1 hour. I Googled pictures, so then God gave me another idea, which I wanted to share with you. Then I mentioned that I want to share Gita, which I, please God said, made the PowerPoint presentation. So I want to share with you. When you have time, because of not teaching, then I have shown that presentation in various different places. So I want by your guidance, okay, how to improve on that. Okay. So I want to meet you in person, by home or your home or wherever, or whenever you want. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Just be a little bit more patient next month or so.
Yeah, whenever.
But we'll do that.
Yeah, and then Gita Chalisa, you can please add or delete whatever you want.
Okay, good.
So that like